My sister told me this story. It happened 4 years ago. She preferred getting her workouts in late at night for 2 reasons. She was a night owl and really enjoyed the gym when it wasn't so crowded. Just like anybody, she would see the same faces almost every day. In particular, there was one man that stood out. He was early 30s with tattoos up and down both of his arms, shaved head with another tattoo of a $sign on the back of his neck. He was also the type of guy that would yell out a few grunts for everyone to hear on his last couple reps. This wasn't Planet Fitness, so members including staff just seemed to ignore it. My sister said he tried to talk to her once, but she can give off an unwelcoming vibe very easily, and he must have gotten the point because he never tried again. But that didn't stop him from glaring at her every now and then. Whenever she did notice him, he would turn quickly away as if nothing happened. She was thick-skinned and said it didn't bother her enough to complain about. One night she was working out as usual. She was in the back corner of the gym, using some free weights. It was in a section used mostly for stretching, in an area that isn't as visible as the rest of the open gym. In between sets, she notices the same guy enter the gym, but he wasn't wearing his typical workout attire. He had on baggy jeans and a heavy coat, and seemed to be looking for something. He was walking fast, head was on a swivel, scouring the entire gym. This caught my sister's attention and frightened her. She kept an eye on him while trying to be even more out of sight. Eventually, he made his way to the pool area. That's where my sister would sometimes finish her workouts, by swimming a few laps. He then exited the pool door and proceeded to speed walk to the ladies' locker room. It was this that made her think that he was looking for her. She then crouched down behind a wall, peeking just enough to see if he would be heading her way. After 30 seconds, she sees him leaving the ladies' locker room. It must have been completely empty, because no one complained or seemed to notice. Not even the lady working the front desk. My sister watched him walk out the front door from her hiding spot and slowly walked up near the front. And before she even got the words to tell the employee what happened, she saw through the glass of the entrance, and the man was sitting in the front seat inside of her car. He rummaged through the glove box and center console, flinging everything inside the car. She calls for police while telling the employee what was happening. The employee runs to the front door and locks it, just in case he tried to get back in. Police arrived in 5 minutes, and in that time, the guy was sitting in the driver's seat, banging on the steering wheel, honking the horn, and appeared to be yelling. When the cops pulled him out of the car, he seemed to be unfazed, like he didn't even know he was being arrested. Like I said, my sister is very thick-skinned, but she was crying hysterically. Nothing in her life shook her up as much as this did. It's been 4 years since this has happened, and have heard her tell the story several times, and I can see her become emotional, because she says she knows for a fact that if she was working out in the open gym, swimming laps, or even in the locker room at the time he came in, she would be dead. In 2017, I was renting a room in a house, but was forced to move out because the owners had sold it. I looked at other places to rent, and because even a 1-bedroom apartment was almost half my income, I decided to do something drastic. There was no way I could save enough money the way I wanted, even renting a studio. So I decided I would live and sleep in my truck. A twin-size mattress fit perfectly in the back. Plus, I already had a canopy to protect me from the elements. I also had a membership at 24 Hour Fitness. That's where I would take my showers. It really wasn't a bad gig. I still worked my full-time job, which kept me busy. The most difficult part of all of this was trying to find a safe place to park while I'm sleeping. I would get off work at midnight, go to the gym, take a shower, park somewhere in the back of the parking lot, and go to bed. My routine would go off without a hitch. That is until 3 weeks in. I had parked the truck where I normally do, sitting inside the cabin, waiting until the coast was clear, so no one could see me climbing into the back, making me an easy victim as I'm sleeping. But on this night, as I'm sitting in the driver's seat, a car pulls up and parks right next to me on the passenger side. I didn't understand why. The parking lot is damn near empty. Why park next to me? There were so many empty spaces near the front. I was waiting for someone to exit the vehicle, but after 5 minutes, the car was still idling with its headlights on. I looked over to see who it was or what they were doing. But with it being so dark and their windows tinted, I couldn't see anything. I began to feel uneasy. There was no way I could get any sleep with this car next to me. I started my engine and headed to the other end of the parking lot, off the side of the building, hoping I would be left alone. As I'm looking over across the parking lot, the car begins to move. It was coming towards me. A knot forms in my stomach. Why were they following me? I remember my hand begin to shake, as now the car parks right beside me. This was clearly not a coincidence. This time, both our driver's side windows were facing each other. I subtly turned my head to see what I'm dealing with, but still unable to see anything. Every night I would sleep with my pocket knife for protection, so I grabbed the knife and mustered up the courage to confront this person. I stepped out of my truck holding the knife behind my back and motioned to whoever it was to roll down their window. When they did, I was looking at a man in his late 30s, overweight with the stereotypical features of someone that plays a lot of video games. I was full of adrenaline. With a raised voice, I asked what they were doing following me. He seemed caught off guard by my reaction, almost looking scared at this point. He stuttered in his response, saying he just wanted to ask if I needed help. I didn't believe for a second that he only had genuine concerns for my well-being. Aggressively, I told him that I didn't need any help and to leave me alone. I got back in my truck and drove away. To describe this man as odd isn't a good enough description. His looks and demeanor alone gave me an eerie feeling. I didn't return to the gym that night. I parked underneath a tree in a neighborhood a couple miles away, and did so for the rest of my homeless experience. It was a much better spot anyways. The tree I parked under gave me enough shade in the morning so I wouldn't be sweating before I would wake up. I still continued to shower at the gym after work, and kept an eye out for the guy and his car. I wouldn't be able to forget his face. A month goes by, and after working a 10-hour shift, as I usually do on Tuesdays, I was eager to go to the gym, take my shower, and go straight to bed. I was completely exhausted. Everything seemed typical as usual. Maybe about 10 people working out, and the locker room completely empty. I remember almost falling asleep that night as I was showering. Once I was done, I dried myself off with the towel and headed to my locker where my clothes were. But I stopped dead in my tracks as I recognized the same man that was following me. He wasn't here to work out. He was here for me. We both stood still and silent for a moment. I expected him to say something, but he didn't. Instead, he slowly came at me holding a pair of zip ties. He reached for my wrist in a weak attempt as if to arrest me. I was more confused than scared at this moment. He was a weak man, and I knew I could overpower him when I wanted to. And since he wouldn't stop and wasn't responding to me, I put my right foot in front of his legs and threw him to the ground face first, then grabbed both of his arms and yelled for someone to assist me in restraining him. Fortunately, there was a janitor just outside the locker room. Once police arrived and arrested him, we discovered he wasn't even a member at the gym. He must have waited for the person at the front desk to go to the bathroom or re-rack the weights or something. From what I can assume, he must have been stalking me, waiting for the perfect time to execute his plan. I think he must have chosen me, thinking I was an easy target, as I appeared to be homeless and without means. I didn't only use the gym just to shower, I also worked out as well, and did so for health purposes. I didn't think I would be doing it to prepare for a situation like this. Something strange happened to me 8 months ago. I go to my local gym at 7 in the morning, 5 days a week before work. For reference, I'm a fairly in-shape female and do get hit on occasionally while working out, but most women do, so I don't think much of it. I basically have the same routine when I go. 30 minutes of cardio, followed up by 30 minutes of weightlifting. On this particular morning, I grabbed a couple of different sets of dumbbells and headed over to the leg press. I made a little area for myself to do some circuit training. Basically, all that means is I do multiple exercises without resting in between. After completing the third set, I went to take a drink from my water container, but as I did, I noticed it tasted different. It tasted like water, but not the kind of water I was drinking. It's hard to explain, but it tasted somewhat kind of chalky, like maybe there was a pre-workout mixed into it. Before swallowing it, I looked at my container and could tell that it wasn't mine. It was the exact same size and color and everything, but this one appeared to be new. Mine was a little beat up with a small chip on the handle. I immediately ran to the drinking fountain and spit it out. Just then, a guy taps me on the shoulder and informs me that it's his container. I quickly apologized and told him I had the exact same one and made a reasonable mistake. I tried laughing it off, but he didn't seem to be entertained. He seemed overly upset about it. It's not something I expected because he was vaguely familiar to me. Maybe he has seen me around the gym as well and wouldn't be so serious about the whole thing. But he walked briskly and left the gym. I then went back to my weights and was confused where my water container could be. It didn't make any sense. I know 100% exactly where I left it. I walked around the entire gym, in all the places I had been before. No luck. I went to the front desk to ask if someone returned my container, but nothing. I finished up my workout without my container and just used the water fountain. I started bringing a bottle of water to the gym, hoping my original container would be returned. By now, I know I must look stupid at this point, but none of this dawned on me until a week later. This is all speculation, but the guy at the gym must have replaced an identical looking container with mine. What exactly was in it? I'll never know for sure, but I could taste it, and I think that's why he was pissed off. And since he knew I wasn't going to drink it, he came back to get the evidence. A plan he hatched by studying the exact size and color of my container. A calculating freak. I alerted the gym about what happened, but they seemed disinterested, saying they would need to go to corporate to review any footage, and they didn't want to do it over some stolen water bottle. That enraged me. I made a big scene that day. I quit the gym for good and joined a different one. Since that day, I've never seen that guy again, and hope it stays that way. It sickens me knowing he might be out there somewhere, possibly trying to do this again.